Hello, everybody. It is Wednesday, the 11th of March, and I want to talk about becoming a functioning consciousness, a consciousness that knows what it is doing and that is not being led one way or another um, by a power greater than itself. We are being led by powerful minds. We being led by those that have occult knowledge. Basically, they understand how this works and they're working it whilst keeping us in ignorance. So we don't know what we're doing and we're being led like sheep. Now that has to stop. So we need to reach a higher level of consciousness, which to me would be a higher level of understanding of what it is we are and what it is we're doing and what it is we're in. Now, the first thing I really think we need to get away from, and that was leading the sheep down the wrong path, and that is this unified field of consciousness. We're all one, we must return to source, which is the worst of all. Or I just heard a higher self is a point of no self, which is actually completely nonsensical to say that. If something it is not as when it truly is, that is completely nonsensical. You either are or you're not. Now, the source, the field, what people now, the ether, the divine matrix, whatever you want to call it. The field of energy that gives birth to consciousness. Consciousness does not exist in the uncreated energy. It's being birthed out of it. By what mechanism or why consciousness should suddenly come into being, I don't know. I don't think anybody knows. I don't think, well, the Kabbalion would say, to know what consciousness actually is would be to know the all itself, and you can't know that. So that whole line of inquiry is probably pointless. But to concentrate on that you are now consciousness, for whatever reason you emerged out of that field, and you are a being, you are an I am. And here's, I think, the biggest problem that we have, because we can't deal with that. We can't deal with being an I am. We don't know how to function being an I am, how to do this correctly. And this is where the knowledge has to come in to help us function. Now, I'm listening to an audiobook at the moment, and it's called Mind Power, The Secret of Mental Magic, I think it says. And it was written by a man called William Walker Atkinson, who, by the way, is thought to be the author of the Kabbalion. And I would nearly go with that, because this audiobook I'm listening to now at the moment, there are so many phrases in that repeat themselves in the Kabbalion, ways of saying things. So I think it is quite safe to think that it was done by the same author. So, and this audiobook I'm listening to now at the moment, there was a lot of helpful understanding in it, to understand yourself, to know what it is you're doing, to know what it is you are. And yeah, it's talking about mind power. It also talks about desire power, which are two different actions that we perform in the spiritual. Yeah, that is something, again, spiritual is just the unseen energies, the unseen forces, the force of mind, which we cannot explain. We just have to say it is. It obviously is, because we see its effects in this world. So let's say it is, and then say, how does it function? What does it do to help us being consciousness? So yes, mind split into desire power and willpower, which is again what Atkinson calls the male and the female. Now be very careful when you're using terms like that, the feminine and the masculine, because as it stands at the moment, the more recent teachings, they all create their own terminology, their own definitions for words, and you quite often cannot move a definition from one teaching into another. You create confusion doing that. There may have been a time, a long time ago, where we all spoke the same language. There were the mystery schools spoke the same language, which means a master from Persia could speak to somebody in Egypt, could speak to somebody in India, could speak even to a druid. But that has been destroyed. Yeah, God came and destroyed that. Or rather, the mindless angelic servants of God, of the one true God, destroyed it in service of the will of the one God. So that at the moment the teachings are in separation, and you cannot necessarily use the same definitions. Yeah, you need to be careful about that. Anyway, let's go back to Atkinson. So he is describing the male and the female in his definition. The female, is desire power. The male is willpower. And here comes the desire power is the indrawing power, that which draws things to itself. It is within us. Yeah, we are doing it. And then the willpower is that which pushes outwards, influences the environment around itself through its will, which is grown out of desire. So you have this pulsating action of indrawing and out, pushing out. Indrawing, and you could say maybe giving birth. Yeah, making it a reality through willpower. And to me that was a very good way of looking at things, of what it is we are doing. Now, the big difference between man, the level of man, and the level of God is knowledge. Again, gods are beings, make no mistake. They are beings that are on a high level of understanding. And having that understanding does not necessarily make them good. You know them by their fruit. You know them by what they create. Again, that is how you know consciousness, by what it creates, by its fruit. And no, they may have a high level of understanding, but they're not good. They're not using that power to be beneficial to mankind, to help mankind. They're using that power to enslave. They're using that knowledge to enslave. Knowledge is power, yes, and you can use that either way. So yes, they have the knowledge, and here is the creation of desire and the creation of willpower, which I think for the most part, judging by myself and others around me, seeing what we are at the moment, I think most of us have tons of desires. Yeah, again, we're not actually drawing them in very strongly because there's something in us saying it's no good anyway. It's not going to happen. So for somebody to have a really strong desire to draw something in, it needs to be very strong. You need to have a very strong pulling power. Most of us don't have that. And most of us certainly do not have willpower, or do not exercise willpower. Again, for the same reason, you are nothing, nothing is going to happen anyway. You know, it is the powerful that rule over you, it is God that rules over you. You know, you might just sit there and acquiesce and that's your lot anyway. And that is not your lot, because this capability is in all of us. And as we are weak at the moment, it is really a case of doing it, growing strong, the way you would train a muscle, a physical muscle. Yeah, it is through doing it that you will grow stronger in it. Again, most of us are not even doing it. Yeah, and our desire and our willpower are being created by others. This is how the sheep are being led. We're being influenced. We're being suggested. Desires are being suggested to us. That is what Jesus called the planting of seeds, the sowing of seeds, the sowing of ideas that will flourish inside of a person as a desire. And then willpower, whose will is being done. The will of God is being done. His will must be done. You must be the executor of His will. You must be that which serves His will, which makes His kingdom a reality on earth. You're bringing His kingdom to earth because you have no will of your own. You have desires that have been suggested to you. And you've been they're using you like a machine. They're programming you. You are a manifesting machine. Yes, you are that. But they're programming you as to what you should manifest. And you have no independent will or desire. Most don't. That is being totally unconscious of self. And you're being told to do that. You must deny the self. You must push it down. You must kill the ego. Ego is what you are. I'm sorry, you are that. Everything, every consciousness is a part in the whole. You are an individual part. You are not exercising your individuality. You're not exercising your mind power. You're trapped in the physical in that you don't know anything else, or you're being told everything else is just superstition, not real. Yeah? This is created by God and you must do as you're told. So to become an I am is to exercise your own mind power, your desire power and your willpower. Your will shall be done, not that of a God. I mean, it creates consequences, obviously, but everything does. Even following the will of a God creates consequences, and in this world most certainly does create consequences at the moment. Mindless followers create a lot of consequences at the moment. Those that have been suggested, those where they have created a reality in the mind of the people and the people doing according to it. And they're being driven by a stronger will than their own. God's will becomes your will. Yeah, you're in the mind of God, you're in the will of God, and you become a machine. Whereas you could be a God. You most certainly could be a God. That's self-determination. That is the one difference between man and God, between the two levels, is knowledge of self. on an expanded level, beyond the physical. That is what makes a God a God. And as I said, through that power, exerting their energy on others that don't know what they're doing, or that are weak, being made weak, deliberately being made weak through the teachings of religions. Now, to exercise, again, we must consider the field. So this is what we are. That is what everything that is in existence is. It is one point that draws from the field, and that gives to that which is around it. This indrawing and outpouring is part of everything. Yeah? Are you doing it consciously? Then you're God. Do you know what you're doing? Then you're God. So, but let's consider the field. And here's something very important. And here's the thing that people go around howling. Why would God allow these things to happen? Why is evil in this world? What evil God allows these things to happen? Again, going from the perception that there is one that is creating everything, which is wrong to start with. Everything that is consciousness creates, influences its own environment to an extent. How great is your influence? How much do you know what it is you're doing? But everything does. So there is not one that is creating all. The all is what it is, both in the uncreated as all possibilities, and in the created as those possibilities being made manifest. But they're all it. A woodlouse is the all. A worm is the all. A whale is the all. A tree is the all. Everything is it. Again, there's not one creator. They're all possibilities. That's what we're in. That's the first thing you're in when you're in that field. You're in all possibilities, not just one. And it creates diversity, not clones. Again, you're an individual. I am. You are consciousness. Learn to function. Yeah, except that is, you are now in creation and function in creation, because that is where you are. So that's the first thing. It's all possibilities. It is the creator of consciousness. But once it is conscious, it emerges out of that field. It is not separated from the field. That's the next thing. We are still connected. We receive of the field. We can, on a higher level of awareness, of consciousness, channeling, things like that. So what do we receive of the field? And I've thought of a couple of things. One is, people say they meditate for health reasons, or some of the practices of yoga and Tai Chi and other things are done for health reasons. So what you're drawing on is actually pure energy. Pure energy that should, because this body is energy, even the material is energy, on a very low vibration, but it is energy. So it is drawing from the all and giving to your body, if you do it for health reasons. And that is really, again, the indrawing desire force. I want to be healthy. The desire to be healthy. The field also contains information. And you can draw on the information. And it is your desire that is selecting what it is you receive. What is it you're asking for? Because you receive. So moments when you need a solution and you've just drawn a complete blank, and then it comes to you. Again, we can say these things are happening because we are experiencing them. Yeah, it is not something that you have to believe or that is fantasy. A lot of us have experienced that. Many times, maybe even. Intuition. It is drawing information out of the field, which is different from the pure energy that would aid your body. It's a different thing, but it is a function of the field. And you are connected, you are not disconnected, the all is within you. It's just that you are not the all. You are a specific something in creation. Another function is facilitating the connection between the individual consciousnesses. Now we come to telepathy, that sort of thing. Knowing others, connecting to others. As we are individual consciousnesses, does not mean we have to be in separation from one another. It doesn't mean that at all. Because, again, consciousness has the ability to connect to other consciousness. If you are in complete separation, then that is your choice. Because you are not connecting to anything else. That's something you are doing. You're disconnected is something that you are doing. Because we can connect, we can absolutely connect. We can create webs of connections, which is creation. Not everything is directly connected to everything else, but through, one is, I said it before, I'm connected to my children. My children have friends. I'm connected to some of those friends, but I don't know them all. Those friends are connected to others that I don't know at all anymore, and I'm not directly connected to them, but we are all part of the same web. And that we are one. We're not the same, we're not directly connected to one another, but we are part of the same web. And that is always true. So yes, we can connect to one another, and that is another thing that the field will facilitate. Again, it is our desire. What is it we want to be connected to? That is drawing on the field to bring about, to be given what our desire wants. Again, our desire is not always wise. Yeah, bad things happen, and then you howl, it was God. No, it was your desire. You just hadn't thought it through. What the consequences of your desire might be. You are the source. Everything is an individual source. Sources can connect to create greater webs that cooperate with one another, make the power greater. And that's what they do. So, yeah, connection from one consciousness to another can be facilitated by the field. Connections to God. Oh yes, absolutely. If, again, you are under the impression that you are nothing, that something has to come to do it all for you, the powerful one, the one that loves you, that has compassion with you, that does everything for you, because you're just little something that can do nothing for itself. You seek that one, oh, it will be given. Yeah? And at that point you would have to be extremely lucky that you're actually being connected to the right one. Because as I said, they're not all good. Yeah? I mean, okay, those that are giving, that use their power in order to serve others, they may exist. I think at the moment they're few and far between. Most at the moment use their power to rule over. Yeah? And if you're looking for the one powerful God whose will must be done, that you want to serve so that he gives to you, yeah, I think you will find it. You can be careful what it is you wish for. And that is really the last thing. And why is evil in this world? Because people are stupid. Basically, either they're selfish creators, or they're stupid. They're becoming the servants to those selfish creators. Because that it is what Jesus said. It is what God would allow that. Jesus said, by him everything is created. Without him nothing is created. He gives to the birds and to the lilies in the field, and in him there is no judgment. And in the shorter version it says in the Bible, it reigneth on the just and the unjust. This is just how things function. There is no judgment in it. And here's again the power of prayer. Whatsoever you ask for in prayer, know that you have received it, and it will be yours. There is no judgment in the field. On no level. Not on the level of energy, not on the level of information. There is no judgment. There is a function that you fulfill that will create an effect, and it will do so without judgment. That is why evil is in this world, because there are those that understand that and use it. They are the judges. You are the judge. Again, you've been told not to judge. Deny yourself. Do the service of God. Do not judge. Judgment is given to God. God is the judge. Whereas, no, you have reason. You have the capability of thinking about outcomes. You can make judgments. Do it. And do it before you create a desire. Think it through. Think through what it is you desire. Because there will be consequences. So this thing about mind magic, oh, it's magic, they're just conjuring things up. No, they don't. It's not magic, it's knowledge. It's knowledge that is power. And again, desire power, willpower. Those that don't know that what they're doing will have the power of others. Push them. If they're weak, they will be pushed by others. If they're weak, they will be used by others. Stand in your own truth. Start working this as a reality. And yeah, if you're howling about them ruling over you or being destructive, then don't do unto others what you don't want done unto yourself. You want good in this world, you must be that good. We must be that good. For the light to be in this world, we must be the light. We must understand how this works. We must understand that we will receive without judgment. Therefore, we must be of sound judgment, because sound judgment has to be somewhere in this system. Otherwise, it does what it does at the moment, I would say, descend into complete lunacy. Know what it is you're doing and what it is you're in. And yes, know that you are an individual something. You are an ego. That is what you are. Do not suppress it. Because if there is nothing there, so my real true self is in non-being, doesn't be. Well, if the self is not, what is receiving? If there is nothing there that can receive, nothing is there to receive. The field wants to give. The field will give. But if you are not there to receive, So you must say, I am. Say that, I am. Become the drawing point. Your desire becoming the drawing point. Your willpower becoming the creative force. They're doing it. They have that knowledge. They're making man weak, so their will can overpower the will of another. That's how they become the rulers. It's done on a level far beyond the material. This is spiritual warfare. This is a spiritual war. And the only way you become a soldier in that spiritual war is by becoming a strong I am and directing your own affairs and hopefully being beneficial to humanity, opposing those that will suck humanity dry for their own benefit. So, this is why I'm at the moment. I think I'm sticking with Atkinson. I said before I will stick with the Kabbalah. Apparently they are one. So I'm on this book now. Apparently he was a prolific writer. Up to 100 books or something. Not that I think I'm going to get there. I won't have the time. But again, I must say for myself, trying to stay awake. Yeah, do not be drawn in, because in the end, Atkinson was a man. Yeah, and man can go wrong. He may have made mistakes, have quite possibly made mistakes. And here's again where we expand on our knowledge and always work corrections. And we must work corrections. Do not follow blindly one. I will not do it. I think he's on a very good path. I think he has some very good thoughts that will lead to a greater understanding of ourselves. I'm not saying he's perfect. He most likely is not. So, as I said, but that is how we expand our awareness, and a lot of it comes through experience. Yeah, we learn through our experiences. Yeah, we do before we think about it, and then we learn by our experiences. Yeah, and quite often that is hurtful, but it is knowledge. Yeah, suck it up, learn, and go on. But that is how we will expand in the end. There has to be constant corrections. There has to be constant changes. From the point we are at, we don't know it all. We're trying to expand. We get new knowledge, we run with this knowledge, we create outcomes, we see what happens. We must, if it's wrong, we must correct ourselves and create a new knowledge. And as I said, in that way, it's done in a scientific way. It's not, that's the other thing I like. I mean, Atkinson himself, what I like is he warns constantly against the wrong usage of this knowledge, what you might call black magic. Don't go there. It will create bad outcomes, and it will backfire on the one that is doing it. No good will come from it. So that's one thing I like. He warns against that. And as I said, the other thing that I like is it is not you must believe. Even though you're not experiencing it, you don't know it, but you must believe. Yeah? This doesn't say you must believe. It is pointing to things in reality that verify. That is what is happening. You can see it. You can feel it within yourself. Yeah? You have experienced outcomes. You have seen outcomes somewhere else. That is scientific. There is proof. Those statements in those books can point to proof in this world. Yeah? And it's not you must believe on some being in the middle of the universe from which everything emanates. Forget it. And there's absolutely no proof. But they insist that you must believe on it as the only truth. That is religion. Do not be religious. Ask for proof. Always ask for proof. look for proof. And if you can't find it, be careful whether or not you want to run with that, what you hear. Anyway, here folks, I leave it at that for today. This is where I'm going now. And I will speak about that in my videos. That is my path. Yeah, I'm not nothing. I'm not all. I'm consciousness. I'm an individual consciousness, and I'm trying to function. Let's see if we make it. Anyway, I leave it at that, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.